What's up guys, my name is Jake and welcome to Cancelled, episode 9. This is the show where we look into everything and anything that was eventually cancelled. This episode is brought to you by Hostinger. Go to hostinger.com/BSF or use the code BSF to get 15% off one of their already affordable hosting plans. One of my favorite movies ever made was the original Independence Day. Now that I rewatch it as an adult, it's definitely not as good as I remembered, but you have to admit it's a very fun 90s disaster film. So 20 years later, Fox announced that a brand new sequel to the original film is coming, along with a third movie following that. But almost 5 years after the awful sequel was released, everything relating to the mysterious third film had just stopped. So today let's take a look at why the modern-day sequel to the iconic 1996 blockbuster was so horrible, and what happened to the intended third movie in the cinematic master plan, one that was eventually cancelled. On July 2nd, 1996, the summer blockbuster Independence Day was released in US theaters to pretty good critical reviews and to a fantastic audience reception. People went absolutely crazy for this film. I know I did as a kid. I can't even imagine how many times I watched it on VHS, and even now as an adult, I still honestly love it. The movie is very dumb and certainly has some problems, but the fact that it tells such a simple story and follows characters in different situations, all building off each other to an actual satisfying conclusion. It's not really that easy to do with a cast that large, and I think coupled with the amazing score, the film presents a great amount of weight and energy, making it feel like a perilous disaster with consequences. The Hollywood Reporter called it a generic juggernaut, as well as a story of appealing human dimension, which I think is very accurate. All in all, Independence Day had a budget of just $75 million, and made over $800 million in the box office. The film even won an Academy Award for Best Visual Effects, and also won a Grammy for Best Instrumental Score for a Motion Picture. Obviously, the movie was a worldwide hit, and spawned a rash of new disaster films following it through the late 90s, most also raking in huge box office numbers. Some even consider Independence Day as the turning point for all modern-day blockbuster films. With the enormous success of the movie, it was likely that Fox had wanted to make another one with director Roland Emmerich and producer Dean Devlin. News of another one actually started all the way back in 2002 when Devlin said that him and Emmerich are working on a new sequel and think they have a good story. However, Independence Day 2 was put on the back burner as the two producers began working on their own American adaptation of Godzilla in 1996, with a release in May of 1998, with very awful reviews.
That's a lot of fish.
Roland Emmerich continued to work on various films through the following years, like The Day After Tomorrow, 10,000 BC, and 2012, all of which doing pretty well in the box office, yet very mixed critically. In 2009, though, the MTV Movies blog quoted Roland Emmerich saying that he wanted to make 2 new Independence Day movies to follow up from the last. Dean Devlin later confirmed in 2011 that they both had a concept and a written treatment for the potential sequels. It was also reported during this time that Will Smith would not be returning in his previous role for the new film. While Roland Emmerich had wanted him to join the new cast, he allegedly asked Fox for around $50 million to do both movies, which they of course turned down. Will Smith also reportedly declined joining the new films in favor of shooting Suicide Squad, and the fact that he just came off filming another science fiction movie, After Earth. 2 very good movies. By 2013, Emmerich confirmed the names of his next 2 installments in the upcoming franchise, with ID Forever Part 1 and ID Forever Part 2. I don't know either. With some of the previous cast like Bill Pullman and Vivica A. Fox already on board for the new film, by the following year, 20th Century Fox had greenlit just one of the 2 planned movies. And now with Roland Emmerich on board to direct, the newly renamed Independence Day Resurgence began shooting in April of 2015 with a June release date of the following year. The story of this new film would take place 20 years after the original, depicting our world post the 1996 events. Humans have now evolved with a newfound alien technology, and world civilizations have united. All the while we knew the aliens would one day return. It was later announced that, impressively, most of the original cast would be reprising their roles, including Jeff Goldblum, along with additional new cast members like Liam Hemsworth, Charlotte Gainsbourg, Cela Ward, William Fichtner, and many more. Filming also took place in various locations around Utah, London, Nevada, and New Mexico. To go along with the ever-increasing hype for the new upcoming sequel, Fox released an extensive and massive marketing campaign for the new film, with short fake commercials out of the Independence Day universe, and a pretty cool website to show the timeline of humans after the events of the first movie. And as the film crept closer and closer to release, Emmerich had stated that Resurgence would have a cliffhanger ending, setting the world up for another installment into the franchise. Rumors during this time also suggested a possible fourth film in the series. So after 20 long years since the first blockbuster movie, on June 24th, 2016, Independence Day Resurgence opened in theaters across the world. And it was really bad. To expand on the small plot points given by Emmerich in 2013, the film, spoilers by the way, if anyone even cares, it focuses on various characters from the past film now getting visions of the future, causing them to draw a mysterious object. Liam Hemsworth plays Liam Hemsworth as a moon-based towing guy who used to be a fighter pilot, which almost got Will Smith's stepson from the last movie, who is also a fighter pilot and is all grown up, part of the International Legacy Squadron, killed. Also, Liam Hemsworth is engaged to Bill Pullman's daughter from the first movie, and she is also a fighter pilot. Jeff Goldblum is now the director of the Earth Space Defense Agency. For some reason, the love interest from the first movie, which spent the entire film building up to, is completely forgotten about, and is replaced with some British scientist that we've never seen before. For some reason, he is made out to be this womanizing man, even though the first movie presented him as a nerdy tech guy who had a failed marriage, and clearly is still holding on to the past. How's the film sounding so far? So as a new moon base is set up, a mysterious alien sphere approaches Earth and is subsequently shot down. As Jeff Goldblum is sent to investigate along with Liam Hemsworth and other annoying, forgettable characters, an enormous alien harvesting ship arrives to Earth and begins causing destruction. It's later learned that the mysterious sphere that was shot down earlier turned out to be an extinct civilization coming to warn Earth of the impending alien attack. Humanity eventually creates and executes a plan to take out the alien queen. We eventually win and the aliens retreat back into space. And we get this beauty of a line before the credits roll.
We are gonna kick some serious alien ass.
First of all, that was so much worse than I ever could have imagined. I mean, there's just so much wrong with this film. Yes, I understand it's a dumb summer blockbuster. However, all it needed to do was play off the first film. Maybe it was just a thing of the 90s and I'm looking at it with nostalgia, but come on. How does this movie look worse than the original? The entire film looks like a CGI mess with far too much going on and environments looking completely fake. The characters, at least the new ones, have absolutely no chemistry, and the two new sidekick guys are not only annoying, but almost identical both visually and personality-wise. Also, main characters in this film who got massive amounts of screen time like Jesse Usher, who played the grown-up version of the little kid from the first movie, was the most lifeless and boring character in the entire film. I mean, this is how he reacted to his mother falling to her death right in front of him.
Pull her up! Pull her up! No! No, Mom! No!
Now there were a lot of other problems I had with this film, like their insane amount of pandering to Chinese audiences, and the such enormous wasted potential. Like, remember in the last film where Bill Pullman delivers the speech that unifies the base set to the incredible score? Well, in this movie, instead, Bill Pullman is a decrepit old man who is set up to give an inspirational grand speech against a green screen, then just doesn't? Okay, we're just cutting to something else now? There is absolutely no weight in this, there's no build-up, useless characters, bad writing, and in some cases, awful acting. Alright, anyways, you get the idea. And the film was panned by critics, with almost every major publication giving it a negative review. The film also surprisingly bombed at the box office, getting beat by Finding Dory by the end of the month. After a $165 million budget, the film made just $103 million domestically and totaled $389 million worldwide. Factoring in all external costs like marketing, the film probably made money, but certainly not as much as they probably thought a sequel to Independence Day would. Just before the release of Resurgence, Roland Emmerich told Empire that the planned third movie is now all dependent on how the second would fare. Emmerich said the next movie would be an intergalactic journey, following the new, younger cast as well as some older favorites. The film would be set 2 or 3 years after the events of Resurgence, with humans traveling through a wormhole to end the alien conflict. However, after the release of the second film, there was nothing. Plans and rumors of a third installment had just stopped, and it wasn't until 2018 when Dean Devlin was asked about his and Emmerich's plans for the third movie, to where he responds to LRM saying, I don't know. Currently, I personally have no plans on doing another one. And in 2019, the Walt Disney Company announced a merger with 20th Century Fox, now controlling all of their IPs and assets, including Independence Day. Which likely now means that Independence Day 3 is officially cancelled. Judging by the last movie's box office results compared to its enormous budget, even if Emmerich wanted to make another Independence Day, Disney probably wouldn't greenlight a movie that costly based on its past numbers, which leaves the franchise in a state that likely won't be revisited for a very long time, if ever. And that puts this whole thing in a weird position, doesn't it? It took 20 years since the original to get going on a sequel, more than a decade itself in the actual production side of things, all with a grand vision for 2 new films, with the first ending on a cliffhanger that will now likely never be concluded. And I'm not even saying that's a bad thing. I mean, audiences clearly did not like the direction and style of the new film, and maybe Independence Day just isn't a good franchise apart from the first film. I just rewatched Resurgence, and honestly it's not as bad as I remembered. It's still awful, don't get me wrong, but I think you can tell there is some effort and care put into the shots and effects. In my opinion at least, Emmerich seems to genuinely care about the franchise. It's weird to see such a public disaster with a movie franchise that had an iconic 90s film worth over $1 billion, left a $165 million sequel that no one wanted to see, and now an intended third film that was ultimately cancelled. I want to give a huge thanks to this video's sponsor, Hostinger. If you're looking to create your own website, there's no faster or more affordable option than Hostinger. I think most of us should have our own websites to showcase our own work, but now, price is no longer an excuse not to have one. Hostinger has hosting prices for less than $1 a month, yet also offer the same features as the more expensive competitors. Things like superior speed performance, 99.9% uptime, and if you're a beginner like me, they also offer 24/7 customer support and a 30-day money-back guarantee. I'll definitely be using their fantastic hosting platform for some of my future upcoming projects, and if you want to try them out right now with your own website ideas, they offer a monthly flat fee for an unlimited amount of website hostings. Go check it out for yourself at hostinger.com/BSF or use the code BSF at checkout. If you use my link or code, you can get 15% off their already affordable hosting plans. As always, when you support them, you in return support the show and get a great hosting platform out of it. Anyway guys, my name is Jake. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat, and thank you very much for watching.